Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Radio Plays live director interviews. My name is Josh Nathan. I teach theater studies here at Cal State Long Beach, along with acting fundamentals and improvisation. And I'm one of the co-directors of Radio Plays Live, along with...
I'm Ezra LeBank, and I'm the chair of the Department of Theater Arts, and I'm the other co-director of Radio Plays Live. So this project came about from last year when we were planning the season. Adrian Centeno, our dramaturg on faculty, had this idea of doing live radio plays, which is something that has gained a bit of popularity culturally. Podcasts being recorded live in big amphitheaters, and this whole thing as radio has come into vogue really in the last several years. It's funny how culture does that in similar and different ways. And so as radio plays in some manner have become popularized, radio stories have become popularized, live radio stories also have come into culture. And so we decided to do this, and we found these two just gems of radio plays by Lucille Fletcher called Sorry, Wrong Number, which is a murder mystery involving the telephone company and the police. And another Lucille Fletcher ghost story called The Hitchhiker, about a fellow traveling cross-country who keeps having these encounters, indeed. So we found these and decided to stage these two radio plays. We're really excited to set them in a 1940s radio studio, and as we got the project together, it seemed clear to me that working on this project with one of our professors, Josh Nathan, was a natural fit. I think that Josh has a real knack for storytelling and a real knack for coaching actors through the narrative arcs of relationships and mood and nuance, and so it's been a joy to work on together, and with our just wonderful group of students and another professor, Sarah Underwood, who will be our live musician, who is just an extraordinary jazz musician, and it's such a treat to have her performing in this show.
Well, thank you, Ezra. And I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it's a great ensemble. It's been a really fun experience. I think any time that the ensemble experience in the rehearsal space is positive, that it shines in the actual production. So I hope that's the case for everybody.
In this play, we are staging radio plays, and so the convention works in two different levels. The first level is that you can listen to a radio play, and that'll include the voice acting, live music, and a live Foley artist, and all of those sounds collaborate with one another to create the radio play that you hear. At the same time, you can watch this kind of behind-the-scenes look in a 1940s era style recording studio where you can see the work that goes into that recording. And that's kind of the fun of the live presentation, is that you can watch the Foley artist using familiar and unfamiliar objects to create the sounds, the sound effects that you hear. You can see the musician and how they're scoring the music and creating the interplay between the actors, the Foley artists, and the musicians, as well as the work that the actors do to create the voice acting performances that you hear. And you can enjoy the ways that they all do that, particularly with an accent in this production lent to this 40s era studio and presentation, costumes, and etc. that we'll use to make it an homage to the era that these radio plays were written in.
I think the conceit of the radio play does, as you've suggested, does ask us to think about the lack of visual storytelling that's happening. And I think the necessary component for that is your own creativity, is the listener's creativity. I mean, that's how radio works. That's how reading works, right? Is the words happen and you sort of see it in your mind's eye. And so I think both stories say something about storytelling as they relate to technology. And certainly our relationship to storytelling and technology is going through a lot of changes right now. So I hope that this meta aspect of we're watching a staging of art and we're thinking about art as the art is being produced, I hope that gives people cause to think about storytelling and ensemble and all the things that we come to the theater to think about. I would say that we have, just in terms of the technical skill, that we've relied on our professional, our specialist, Jeff, who's been there to not only bring in some of these physical objects that create the analog of the sound, but also to train our Foley artist, Cassie. As far as Ezra and I think that Cassie's role as a Foley artist is approached in very much the same way as the actors in the ensemble. She's just another voice in telling the story and in creating tempo and mood. We started with the suggestion of the playwright. There is some suggestion, or it's either the suggestion of the playwright or it's an archive of how these were produced in the past for radio. So, we started with that foundation on the page, but I think it's very much the same process that Ezra was just describing of rehearsal in the last week. It's really about listening to the moment and asking, is the mood and is the arc of this story being told properly in this moment? Is there something that can be added to it? Or sometimes is there something that can be taken away? There are a number of lines from the first play, Sorry, Wrong Number, that I love. My favorite line is check it. Ezra?
There's some really entertaining sound effects that happen, but I'm a particular fan of, there's a few moments where there's a click of a telephone, and the way that it has space and that it creates suspense, I think is just so exciting and particular. So even though it is maybe one of the simpler sound effects, the weight that it carries and the storytelling motor that it provides is really important and a lot of fun.
I like that. Yeah, it is. It's a very finite sound that incites so much in that moment. Yeah.
When audiences come to see radio plays live, it'll be really helpful to think of it as something more of a special event than a traditional play. In a traditional play, you would expect to see a realistic or symbolic set design of some kind, and the actors would be relating to one another in, again, a realistic or symbolic way that tells some kind of narrative that has a sensibility that feels like it is somehow similar to life. Whether that is abstracted or quite realistic, it still feels as though they relate to each other in ways that we would typically expect. In the context of seeing this live radio play, we invite the audience to experience it in two different ways. So one, at any point they could close their eyes and just listen and enjoy how all the audio elements integrate together in the medium that we're purported to be creating. And they'll be able to experience the story, we hope, fully through the audio dimension only, without seeing anything. And so we hope that they can feel like that is actually a welcome way to experience watching these live radio plays. At the same time, they can watch this backstage or behind the scenes glimpse of the recording studio. There will be a lot of playful elements that give a nod to the 1940s era, so it will be particularly enjoyable in a number of aspects, including things like the costumes that they'll be wearing, and other features of props and elements of the show that will give a nod to the era, and that behind the scenes glimpse will be more than simply microphones and actors at microphones. So there's a lot of layers for them then to enjoy as they see the ways that the actors perform. I think watching the live Foley is quite an enjoyable and entertaining piece, as well as seeing how it all cooks together. But when you're watching it, you can enjoy this kind of meta narrative performance where you're both watching the radio play that you're hearing and the way that it gets made. And so it is a special event. It's the first time we've done something like this at Cal Rep, and we hope that audiences feel welcome to have a lot of fun at this show.